All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today we're gonna be talking about a summer banger. This fragrance is coming from the house of Profumum Roma, and the fragrance is called Acqua Di Sale. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions on this fragrance, then let's go. All right, guys, so here is my bottle of Acqua Di Sale. And so yeah, if you're familiar with Profumum Roma, you'll know that they offer 100 ml bottles, but they also have 18 ml bottles. So this is a little 18 ml bottle. And for me, yeah, whenever it's possible, I tend to go with the smaller size. I'm a bit limited on space here in Japan. So, and as you guys know, I keep all of my fragrances in temperature controlled kind of wine coolers because we have massive fluctuations in temperature as we don't have like central heating or air conditioning here in Japan. So yeah, I'm quite limited on space. So yeah, Profumum Roma offers these 18 mils, which is perfect for me. And also, I wanted to give credit to Daniel over at Seldomly Often. He's the one who pretty much turned me on to this brand. You know, I had come across them, I had seen them, but I think I was slightly turned off by them in a way because, they are quite expensive fragrances. So, I found difficulty in justifying the price, but when I was kind of researching and when I had come across them initially, I had just seen the 100 ml bottles. And I think those bottles go for, over $250, possibly a little bit more. But I had jumped on Lucky Scent and I saw that not for all of their offerings, but for some of them, they offered 18 ml, at least through Lucky Scent. So I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And so, I was talking with Daniel a little bit. And so he had given me a few suggestions of ones to try out. And so I decided to pick up Acqua Di Sale. I did blind buy purchase this. So, they do not have Profumum Roma here in Japan. So I had to order through Lucky Scent. I ended up doing a blind buy purchase with this. Again, blind buying is something that I personally don't like to do, but I still do it from time to time. I would say those times are extremely rare, but I would say recently I've kind of done it twice fairly recently. So, I need to kind of, be careful with that because I would say most of the times when I've blind bought fragrances, I may have liked something, but it wasn't necessarily a love. And I'm only looking to, keep fragrances in my collection that I absolutely love. And sampling is a way for me to do that. Profumum Roma, this is the only fragrance that I have from this house. And, just to kind of go over, if you guys are curious, I'll show you the packaging and how this looks. So, and I know that it slightly varies from the 18 ml and the 100 ml. And I don't have any 100 ml, but I think Daniel was telling me a little bit about the 100 mils. But basically, it will come in a package like this, the 18 ml. Here's the box, Profumum Roma. And then it just kind of opens up like this. And then your fragrance is sitting right inside there, just like so. But I do know with the 100 ml sprays, it's not 100 ml sprays, I do know with the 100 ml bottles, so there's kind of a roll-on option. I think the cap unscrews and you can put on kind of a roll-on option to where you can roll it on, or you can put on the atomizer for the spraying. But in the 18 ml option, it's just a spray. There's no, roll-on option for this. But in terms of the actual kind of bottle design here, it has a pretty sleek look. I would say one criticism I have though is that this is just I don't know if it's plastic or whatnot, but it feels extremely cheap. I could literally, if I put a bit of strength in here, I could probably crush this cap with my 2 fingers here. So it is, kind of cheap looking and it feels cheap, to be honest. And the atomizer is too, like the atomizer is actually decent here. But it does seem a bit cheap and it feels a bit cheap, to be honest. But for me, you know, that doesn't matter so much. It's all about the juice, what's in the bottle. However, with that said, you know, if you are paying, you know, a lot of money, obviously you want the entire package to be there. So I guess that would be my one criticism of this brand, is that, you know, if they could do anything to kind of update the bottle design and make it feel a bit more, I don't know, special in a way, or a bit more high end, or, you know, improve the quality in some way. That's what I would suggest, would be to improve the caps here, as well as the atomizers. But it does spray decently. It just kind of feels and looks a bit cheap. Acqua Di Sale, let's jump into this. So this is a fragrance that actually I was quite shocked when I found out that this fragrance was released in 1996, because I was in high school at the time. And at that time, you know, I was wearing fragrances. I was wearing fragrances like Acqua Di Sale, and some other aquatic style of fragrances like Polo Sport, kind of comes in that blue bottle. And so aquatic fragrances were the fragrances to wear. Like, those were extremely popular fragrances for younger men like myself. And so, yeah, I had only worn aquatics during that time. I knew nothing about this fragrance. They probably weren't even selling it in the States at the time, I would assume. But even though this fragrance was created in 1996, you could totally wear this now. It does not smell dated by any means, you know. And in terms of aquatic fragrances, let me say this too. This is now the only kind of aquatic, kind of fresh fragrance that I have in my collection. And there's a reason why I don't have aquatic fragrances in my collection. Number one is I'm not a big fan of that general kind of scent profile. I feel like, you know, however, with that said, there is a sense of nostalgia. You know, it reminds me of my childhood a little bit, and kind of growing up, and especially when I first started getting into fragrances. But at the same time, there's something a bit off-putting. And what's off-putting about aquatic fragrances for me is not all of them, but many of them feature the note of cologne. And cologne is a very challenging note for me. It's just, there's something very off-putting about that note. And I know that that's the case for some people for sure. And it's definitely the case for me. So, you know, I was a little bit hesitant in buying this fragrance, but when I was looking up the note breakdown for this, I noticed that only 3 notes were listed: kelp, myrtle, and cedarwood, I believe. And so I didn't see cologne is listed in the note breakdown. Now, with that said, I think there are times where sometimes companies don't necessarily list all the notes that are listed, so it might be in here. However, when I actually wear this fragrance, I don't get that feeling of cologne being in here. That note typically really stands out for me, but I'm not getting it here. But one thing also about Profumum Roma is that the oil concentration is extremely high. I believe it's like 40% or pushing 40%, something kind of like that. So when you wear these fragrances, you can actually rub these in. That's kind of a fragrance no-no, as many of you know, because you kind of kill, you know, that friction and heat kind of kills like the top notes and possibly mid notes or whatever. But these fragrances, the oil concentration is so high that you can rub these in. You're not really hurting anything. So one other thing too is that you know, this fragrance seems quite minimal in nature, and I'll say that it's quite linear. Like, this isn't one of those fragrances that's going to take you on a journey. You're not going to spray this on, you're going to get one vibe, and then, you know, an hour later it's going to be something completely different. This fragrance is quite linear. However, what it's really good at is giving you a mental picture and putting you in a certain place and time. So for me, this puts me literally oceanside somewhere, maybe in the Mediterranean, you know, maybe I've jumped in the ocean, I'm laying out on the beach, my body is still kind of salt stained from the water, and maybe I have that kind of scent of like ocean green, like seaweed or kelp or something like that. And when you're laying on the beach, that kind of sea breeze that you get, that occasional mist from the water, that's where this fragrance puts me. It's a very realistic take, kind of like Mediterranean beach vibes, in my opinion. They do a very good job of, if that was the image that they were going for, I feel like they have nailed it, because that's exactly where my mind went. Now, this fragrance does kind of, when you're wearing this one, it does have quite a strong salty like quality to it. So that's where it kind of really, you know, mimics that kind of sea kind of vibe. If you've jumped in the ocean and you go like that, you can feel like the salt on your skin. It definitely has quite a heavy salt presence. And like I mentioned before, the note breakdown, you know, you have that kelp, myrtle, and cedarwood. And myrtle, that's a note that I'm not familiar with, to be honest. So I had to look up exactly, you know, how that kind of comes off in fragrance. And from what I learned from online was, it can kind of give you the vibe of like the Mediterranean. So it does have like an ocean-like quality. So it has a greenness to it, but also has like a slight floral tone as well. And so I don't necessarily pick up like a floral tone from this, but you can definitely pick up on a green, kind of not like earthy green, but it's more of like a sea green in this fragrance. But it's very pleasant. And I would say, like, when I'm wearing this, when this one starts to dry down, again, I mean, it is very linear, but when in the deep, deep dry down, I get kind of like a slight muskiness that starts to creep up a little bit. Not, you know, this fragrance doesn't turn into a straight up musk fragrance, but I get some musky tones that start to creep forward, but I absolutely love them. And I'll say performance on this fragrance for me is really good. And that's something that I'm quite impressed with. But again, like I said, the oil concentration is quite high. And sometimes, like, you know, with, you know, high oil concentrations like this, you don't necessarily get, like maybe the projection that you might get with a lower concentration fragrance. But this one really projects. So I've been wearing this one for the past 4 days. And when I wear this, I do 2 sprays, 1 on each side of the neck, that's it. And what I found is that this fragrance lasts the entire day for me, and I'm able to catch whiffs of it throughout the entire day. And for me, that's what I'm looking for. You know, I want to be able to smell this fragrance throughout, you know, my daily wear. And so, you know, I don't really care so much if others are smelling it, and I didn't receive any comments from anybody about this, so I'm not sure if they were smelling it or not, but I was. So it was definitely a pleasant wear for me, and it's kind of, you know, I guess reopened my eyes to explore aquatic fragrances, but it goes down a different line. I don't know, there's something about aquatic fragrances, like, I don't know, like, you know, those designer aquatics that is kind of a turnoff for me, not because they're designer, but just because of the overall scent profile. This is a different type of aquatic fragrance for me personally. And so this is the type of aquatic fragrance that I can really, really get into. You know, there's something very natural about it that I think is appealing. And so, yeah, I've really, really enjoyed the wearing experience of this one. And I think actually this is probably going to be my scent of the day today as well. But yeah, what a great fragrance from the house. I'm definitely looking forward to diving into this house a bit deeper to see kind of what else they have to offer. And, you know, kind of talking with Daniel a bit, he had recommended a few other fragrances from them as well. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. This house has my attention, and yeah, I don't know, maybe my next purchase might be 100 ml, we'll see. But I am quite pleased with the quality of this fragrance in terms of the juice that's inside. Not necessarily the bottle design, but the juice that's inside is really good. So yeah, I'm definitely looking to dive into this fragrance house a bit more, but I think maybe my next purchase from them, I want to look for maybe a fragrance that's not necessarily for summer, but more of like a fall winter scent, one that I can wear in the colder temperatures. But yeah, Acqua Di Sale, definitely one that's going to be in my summer rotation quite heavily, and it's one that I highly recommend to check out. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the brand of Profumum Roma, and if you're looking for kind of that higher concentration oils, you know, like those extrait type of concentrations, definitely check them out. Like I said, these are fragrances that you can rub into the skin because you will see the oil when you spray these on. It is quite heavy. But yeah, definitely a wonderful wear and one to check out if you're looking for a fragrance for this summer. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Acqua Di Sale by Profumum Roma. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. And let me know down in the comment section, have you tried anything from the house of Profumum Roma? What are your thoughts and opinions on the brand? Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.